Oh, there we go. I was doing something yesterday and I had to turn the mic off because I was testing out my little device. Oh, let me get my green screen up and then we'll be good to go. Let's go to outer space again. Which button is that? This one. Boom. All right. Now let's just pretend we're starting now instead of a few minutes ago. Excuse me, but thanks everybody for your patience on my streams. I know I've been doing this a long time and I should have this down by now, but I don't know. It's just challenging sometimes because there's so many different things happening that start a stream. And you know, I got this device here and I got the camera, of course. Then I have to have a separate audio. Then I got this OBS software, and then I got like 3 different screens in the chat window. And usually, you know, it's not like you just open up your laptop and turn on the webcam. You know, it's so many little things. But anyhow, let's see who's here today. Oh, Jeff Painter, good morning. Robin, oh my goodness, Robin Wong is here. That's awesome. I need to talk about him a little bit. And weird time, yes, it's got to be, because you're exactly 12 hours apart, or 13 hours, right, Robin? So this is like, not too bad, actually, 7 or 8 in the evening for you? I don't know. Let's see, Macroverse, awesome. Marcia, good to see you. And that's it. Okay, good small group here. Awesome. That's, you know, Tuesday mornings are nice because, you know, it's just usually on about 12 or 2 dozen people here that we can talk about and catch up what's going on and see what's new. I think, so let me talk about Robin first. I don't know why I'm not seeing, I don't know why this chat window didn't update. I see it on this other screen that you guys see, but not, oh, John Yutze is here, awesome. John Leach, Tamil Selvian, good morning. That's a new name, I haven't seen your name here before. And Kirk, welcome back, good to see you. In Michigan, wow, it's really early there. I think you're like an hour behind me, potentially. Oh, Casper is here, good. You changed your name. It used to be Casper on your username. Now it's Macroverse. Okay, something a little more identity going on there, right? With what you like to do, photographically speaking. But let me go ahead and make the announcement that, and I talked about this on Sunday, and everybody was really excited, and I'm sure you guys will be too. I have a lot of collaborations going on this month, at least 2, hopefully 2 more after that, and what I'm thinking about. But the first one is with Robin Wong, actually, coming this Sunday, 10 a.m. my time, Eastern Standard Time, New York City time. So if you need to look that up on your own time zone, you can figure that out. But yeah, we're going to have Robin back because a lot of you guys would ask me to have some more collaborations. So I said, okay, you know, I can ask. And I always say, you know, I hate to bother people, you know, to come onto my own streams. So I open myself up to says, hey, I invited myself to other people's streams. So that's the other thing is I'm collaborating with also Jimmy and Peter Forsgaard to be on their streams. And then next week after, I think it's November 15th, it's another Sunday, I'm going to have Maddie Solanto and from Solanto blog and Emily from Micro Four Nerds on, and we're going to talk about, you know, photography and Panasonic generally. But you know, I'm primarily an Olympus guy, but I did pick up a new Panasonic camera, the S5, recently. And if you guys haven't caught, because I don't know who comes in on Tuesdays and then doesn't come in on other days, so I'm just going to update everybody like you've never heard anything before. Yeah, so this coming Sunday is going to be awesome with Robin Wong. So mark your calendars and keep checking my channel for updates for the exact timing and everything. Like I said, it will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I will post links to my community tab, my forum, and possibly other forums online that, you know, a lot of people like to visit, maybe pick up some new followers. But you know, come in and join us, because I keep telling Robin he needs to live stream. And he doesn't. You know, it's been a year and he still hasn't gotten on board with live streaming on his own channel, which is fine. You know, you can always come on mine anytime. So maybe we'll have to do this more regular with Robin until he starts his own. Because, you know, Robin, you'd be awesome on a live stream. I know viewers are dying to talk to you and interact with you in a more personal way, right, through live chat. And it's been a great thing for me personally in terms of the reward and satisfaction I get out of being on YouTube and helping others, right? Being able to answer questions directly is something I don't miss them. I'm so sorry when I miss people's questions. It's not intentional, but and it's really, you know, there's no monetary value in live streaming really. It's or views and subscribers. Oh my God, I lose so many subscribers on live streaming. It's funny. I don't know why that is. It's kind of weird. But I think that's why a lot of channels don't live stream is statistically speaking, it's a very bad business decision to live stream on YouTube. But, you know, not everything is about statistics, right? It's about community and relating with people and you know, just spending your time on earth the best you can, right? And I feel like this is really one of the best things I've ever done personally, is being able to live stream and connect with my viewers, you know, directly live, have that interaction live versus, you know, through comment sections and email and, you know, all the other social media means. I'm not selling it, huh? You're funny, Seraphin. But yeah, I'm glad, Robin, you're here to hang out with us this morning. It's always a treat when you come on, because my view count goes up whenever you're on, which is good, because I'd love to see more people interacting with you as well. Oh, John, Robin, Peter are your heroes. Don't forget Jimmy Chang. Jimmy Chang has got an awesome channel, and he's been doing more live streaming lately as well, which have been really good. You know, a lot of times I don't get a chance to watch them when they're live, but I do go back and watch them. And he does an awesome job. And he has a huge, he always has 200-300 people on his stream. It's amazing. Oh, good morning, Walter. How are you? Walter Rowe is here. He's a good friend of mine I've known for a long time. I guess since college, he says, but I guess that was it, right? Since the college days. But I got to know him through a mutual friend, actually, that he ended up marrying. So, where was I going with that? But he is a professional photographer here locally in Maryland to me. And he also has his own YouTube channel for Capture One photo editing. And you guys know I do my own photo editing, you know, with Workspace and sometimes Lightroom. But he's a Capture One affiliate and moderator, and he's got street cred with Capture One, in other words. So definitely check out his channel if you use Capture One, which reminds me, excuse me, I did do a survey of what software people use, and I haven't really tabulated all of the numbers. But generally speaking, well, let's pull it up. If you guys haven't seen it, I need to tabulate that, and I was going to talk about it maybe on Thursday. Let's see, I think this page here, right? But my question was, what photo editing software to use? There's a lot of great ones out there, and YouTube only lets me put up 5 choices, right? So I just picked the ones that I thought of off the top of my head, Workspace, Capture One, Lightroom Affinity, and Luminar. And Capture One was kind of the lowest one out of all of these, which surprised me a little. I thought it'd be like Lightroom, Capture One, and everybody else would be in the single digits, right? And then if it wasn't listed, I asked people to go ahead and comment below what they used, and I was surprised to see like Corel Paint Shop is another one. Faststone I've never heard of. Darktable I've heard of. Darktable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these back together and just give the final numbers, right, of what people are using. DxO on one. So it looks like, these are all single digit type things. Darktable, DxO, and on one. Raw Therapy, there's a lot of freebies in here too though, right? Like GIMP, Darktable, what did I see down here? Snapseed. Digicam I've never heard of. So lots of interesting answers there in the community tab. And if you haven't participated yet, go over there and either now or after the stream and click on your choice, or add it in the comments section, because I do want to talk about that this Thursday. And let's see. Yeah, Robin Wong is awesome, right, Walter? Yeah, I always call him the happiest photographer on earth, because he's always smiling on his videos and just having a great time in photography, which is really what it's all about for me personally, is just enjoying the craft of photography. I do it professionally, but and that presents its own challenges. But when I go out on photo walks and things, it's really a very relaxing, very I don't know, kind of a surreal way to live in the world, right? Because you look at things very differently when you go out on a photo shoot than you would when you're just want to walk in the park, right? But I don't know if that's really so true, because whenever I'm out, unless I'm focused on some particular task, like I'm on a paid job, I see everything differently now. I always see things through a lens, so to speak. And I'm not trying to do that analogy where people see things through their own lens, but I see things like, I try to imagine what things look like at different focal lengths, maybe with different lighting, and it makes me really appreciate a lot of the, beautiful things in nature and in even man-made structures, right? Architectural type things, and that synergy between, man-made and nature, so to speak. I'm not using the right word. Man-made's not the right word, but you guys get the gist of what I'm trying to say, and that's really made a difference in just everything I do when I go out. It's a little dangerous sometimes because I'm driving sometimes, and I was like, "Oh, look at that!" Right? So I need to come back to that. That would be awesome at the right time. And then, Robin Wong uses Capture One. Okay, that's right. I forgot that is one that you use. And Rob Shoot Photos is asking, enjoying the S5. Did you buy it? I'm a little behind you on the going. Oh yeah. Hey Rob. Yeah, I've seen you on my Instagram though recently, or is it my forum? I might have replied or did some. You asked me. I don't know. Anyway, yes, I did buy it. Where is it? It's over there. It's okay. I've only taken it on two. I've taken it on 3 photo walks. Really, only 2, but I've technically 3. Because one was, I went to the same place twice, so I really don't count that as a separate photo walk. But I've taken it out 3 times. And the first time I took it out, compared against the M5 Mark III with a 12 to 32 Panasonic kit lens. And then the second 2 times I took it out was with the EM1 Mark III with the 12 to 40 Pro lens, because now they're comparably priced at the current deals that are going on. You can get an S5 with the 20 to 60 kit, or you can get the EM1 Mark III with a 12 to 40 Pro for about $200 less, give or take. And so, for all intents and purposes, they're about the same price, right? If you're dropping $2,000 on gear, whether it's $2,000 or $2,300, it's really this. Your mind is made up. You're dropping some money on the camera, right? You're not dropping $3,000, $4,000. Like if you want to go Sony A7S III plus lenses, $5,000, $6,000. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the problem with a lot of full frame gear is, you see the camera bodies like the RP, Canon RP or the Canon R or the Nikon Z5 and Z6. The bodies are relatively affordable if you're in that market, right? They're not, for what they do, they're really a good deal. But then you start tacking on lenses. Never mind the size and weight. Let's say you're past that. You're fine with the size and weight, right, of the lenses and everything. But you want to get into photography, it's not a small amount of money to start tacking on all those lenses. For quality, native, same brand type lenses. Now, there are some very good third parties that come out for, significantly less money. Sigma, to name one, right? Tamron does some. And I'm sure there are others, the Seven Artisans, and there's some other really cool lenses, but a lot of them are manual focus. And you can kind of get by if you're really, but those are not really beginner type choices, right? As a beginner, you buy the camera with the kit lens and you start thinking about other lenses within the same brand. You may not be considering or be aware of lenses that will work on that camera outside of Nikon, Sony, Canon, with their native lenses. As a total beginner. And you don't see them when you go to Best Buy, right? These third-party lenses, generally speaking. You have to go to a dedicated camera store, which is far and few between for most people. I'm very fortunate. I have like 3 major stores in the area. Yeah, it's like you look at like a Nikon Z5 with the crappy kit lens it comes with, and it's going to be fine for 99.999% of the people, but there are people like that really look at that lens and say, I'm going to have to buy another lens. That lens is not very good. It's not getting the most out of this camera. Now you're looking at $1,000, $2,000 on top of that, and that's my biggest problem with a lot of full frame gear. Is it takes you down that money pit, of lenses. Walter will tell you he spent tons of money on lenses. He only buys zooms. I don't think he even have a prime except maybe a 300, right, from your F mount days. But anyhow, that's I don't know why I started talking about full frame so much. Oh, because I got this S5. I'll just show it to you. And I'll talk about this more in a couple of weeks when I have Maddie and Emily on, because they both have this camera as well. They also have the S1. But I'll talk about this more. I've already dropped it. It's got terrible scratches on it now. Right here, and I need to get a cage for all my cameras. So at least if they drop, they won't get scratched as much. They may still break, but good morning, Music Sound Gear. How are you? Good to see you. And Marcia says she uses Fast Stone. Yeah, go ahead. Like I said, for all you guys that were going back to my poll in my community tab, you know, if you don't have one of the choices in the selection, just add it to the bottom, and I'll start talking about that Thursday. I got a pretty decent amount of numbers there. There's a little over 200 people, 250 people or so have participated so far. To give me a good idea of what people are using, I guess. I was surprised Olympus Workspace was pretty high on the list. I mean, it's free and it works well, but man, it's painfully slow. As you guys know, if you ever watch my live photo editing live streams. Yeah, the accident repair warranty, Rob. Yeah, I should get something. But you know, I mean, relatively speaking, it's about $400 a year, right? To get coverage for almost all of my gear all at once, rather than buying it individually, right? Individually, you're spending $100 or $150, but you can kind of get coverage up to 20,000 for about 400 bucks, and you know that would be a better way to go. But then I'm thinking, I've been shooting for about, you know, professionally speaking, I've been shooting like 4 or 5 years. That's, you know, 5 times, that's, what's 5 times 4? That's $2,000, right? In insurance that I would have never used. And I mean, that, you know, you have to, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. I should just get it. A couple $1,000 and then, I don't know. I think about it sometimes though. I think about it. robtrek has had a terrible winter, but it has had a good fall, yes. And Oliver says he bought a couple of secondhand lenses from London Camera Exchange in the UK, have 6-month guarantee. So is that a guarantee against drops and falls too? Like if you break it, or is it just against defects in the product? It's a little bit different here in the US. It's strictly usually only defects in the gear. Which reminds me, I was supposed to be sent, I bought an E500, you know, for like $69 or $60 I paid. And the charger didn't work, so I contacted Robert's Camera, and they were supposed to send me a new one. It should have got here by now. They gave me a tracking number and everything, but I haven't looked for it because it's like a $10 thing, right? But yeah, so I took the S5 out against the M1, you know, my Mark III cameras, and you know, initially my findings are that the S5 is just a tad bit sharper, even against the 12-40 Pro with the M1 Mark III. You know, the first time I took it out, I was like, man, I'm shooting at f2.8 everywhere all day long with the 12-40 Pro. I said, maybe, you know, I just need to stop it down to f4 or f5.6. Because, you know, the kit lens is at f5.6 anyway. It's like 3.5 to f5.6. So I said, let me take them out and shoot at f4 and f5.6 and see if that levels the playing field a little bit. Because that 12-40 Pro has always been, I've always been so impressed with the images I get out of that. But it's always been relative to my Fujifilm X-T30, which it blows out of the water, and my Nikon D750, which was very comparable. The D750 does excellent sharpness with the right lens. But I'm looking at a Panasonic S5 with a 20-60 kit lens. It should not be even close, right? And what I'm finding is actually it's just a tiny bit sharper. Now I'm trying to account for pixels, right? Because we're talking 24 megapixels versus 20, but I'm cropping in, or I'm cropping off the sides anyway. I'm shooting both of them at 4:3 aspect ratio, so they're effectively both at 20 megapixels. And So I hopefully I've ruled that out a little bit. But these are just on photo walks where I got two cameras and I'm just click, right? So I'm not concentrating particularly hard on either one to get the best image I can. So we'll see. I mean, you know, I'll have to be honest with everybody, right? When I'm finally done with my analysis. But I did notice and I'm using it now, the 12 to 40 Pro. The lens was a little dirty on the front, but the rear element was clean. I checked that, so I'm gonna make sure the elements are very clean next time I go out, and really concentrate on shooting at f4, f5.6 on both lenses, and then you know, try and shoot the frames exactly the same, with the same lighting at the same time. You know, everything you need to do to try to equalize any variables that might affect the image quality. Because granted, I had to zoom in at like 200% to see the difference, right? But I didn't expect there to be, I totally expected the EM1 Mark III to be sharper across the board, and it wasn't. So I'll have to do a little more analysis. Yes, Oliver. So it's just the defects in gear, which makes sense. So, but yeah, I try to buy secondhand when I can. Like my EM1 Mark II, I bought secondhand. A few of my lenses I bought secondhand, like my 75, my 7 to 14. I bought a lot of lenses secondhand. Those are a little easier to come by than the bodies, relatively speaking, at the time I'm shopping for them. And then Piotr, how are you? He says the HDMI USB. Has anyone experienced a situation where the battery is drained very quickly after HDMI is connected to the HDMI USB capture device? Now the capture device itself will get hot. It shouldn't get hot to the touch, but when you hold it, it will feel warm or very hot, very warm, I should say. But not like, you should be able to hold on to it and not burn your fingers, right? And that heat is generally generated on the device itself, not because it's drawing anything from the camera. The camera should only be transmitting a digital signal. Now, if you're experiencing battery drain and you're using that cable, try lowering the brightness on the LCD panel, because the LCD generally stays on the entire time when it's connected to the HDMI USB cable adapter. So dim your brightness all the way down, because you're probably not looking at the live view screen anyway, and see if that helps, you know. I noticed on my cameras the LCD actually shuts off sometimes while it's streaming via the HDMI cable. I think. I'm not 100% on that. But at the very least, you can dim it down, the live view brightness in the menu to dim it down. Buying secondhand from eBay, yeah, I try to buy, I never spend too much money on eBay unless I know the seller, like Use Photo Pro or Robert's Camera or KEH or, you know, some of the bigger companies. But generally, if they are a top-rated seller, and you'll see that designation, if they're a top-rated seller and they have a 99.5% or better rating, I think you're pretty safe. But a lot of things on eBay, you know, the other 99% of the people on eBay are just sellers like myself that may not have a top-rated seller status. Because I was a top-rated seller briefly. But you know, I stopped doing that years ago. But to get the top-rated seller status, you get additional discounts as a seller. So you pay less eBay fees to eBay, so you make more money. And it's very easy to lose that status. So you have to be very, very conscious of customer satisfaction. So top-rated sellers are going to be a lot more responsive to your issues, if you have any, than, say, someone who's not a top-rated seller. Because they don't want to lose that status. Because if they lose that status, it's not like they lose money on your deal. They're going to lose money on everything they sell on eBay, because their eBay fees will go up if they're not a top-rated seller. So it could cost them thousands of dollars, if not more, depending on how much volume they do. But it could be costing them thousands of dollars a day, maybe $1,000 a month, but it's a significant amount. So when you're shopping eBay, always try to choose top-rated sellers first, or if you know who the seller is, you know, they're a reputable company, and they may not be top-rated, but they're reputable, you're safe. Everyone else, you have to just do your due diligence, you know, read all the user reviews, see where they're located, you know, and don't spend a lot of money. Like, I might risk $100, $200 with a not top-rated seller, but if they have a very good rating, you know, 100%, 99.9% rating, I might roll the dice on them. But anyway, that's my advice on eBay. And Piotr says, the HDMI USB, I'm talking about the battery on the camera. Yes, I know. Yeah, it's the battery in the camera, if it's like you want to make sure you're using Olympus original batteries, because I know the generics do get, for whatever reason, I feel like they get warmer than the originals. Because the Olympus original batteries have additional temperature sensors in them that generic batteries do not. And the camera uses that data to manage the power and all of that good stuff, so it doesn't overheat quite as much. That's why Olympus original batteries, I rarely hear anyone say they've swollen. I know someone has an Olympus battery that's swollen on them out there somewhere, but generally that's not the case. Generic batteries, eventually they're going to swell up because of overheating. But yeah, it will get warm, because the other thing you can do is, if you have the flip out screen type, when you're doing HDMI, make sure it's just open like this, or tilt it up off of the sensor. So that'll relieve some of the heat coming off the sensor that's internal to the camera, which in turn goes to the battery. Okay, so your HDMI USB LCD shuts off. Okay, good. So it's not the LCD draining the battery so much, but definitely Olympus original batteries. And Piotr says, chances are the battery was not fully charged and the LCD stayed on when I first tried. Later, I used a dummy battery and external power bank. It worked okay. Yeah, because all the heat is now external to the camera itself, right? When you use an external bank. But that's all I can recommend. But other than those little things, unless there's some defect with your camera, which has been the case with one of my cameras, I had to send it in. It's in the shop now. It was overheating excessively. And then Roy Jenkins says, hi Rob, I've been given the 40 to 150 Pro lens. Is it okay with the OMD EM5 Mark III, or should I get another camera? No, it's perfect on the EM5 Mark III. You know, I wouldn't hesitate to use it on that camera at all. There's no need to buy another camera. I mean, you may want to think about buying a grip, either the generic one like I bought for mine, or the Olympus original one, which you might be able to find used at this point. That'll help with the handling a little bit, right? because you never want to hold the camera by the grip by itself, especially with heavy lenses. You always hold the camera with your left hand, and then you use the right hand just to control the camera and release the shutter. However, when you're working with longer telephoto type lenses, having a little bit of a grip, particularly if you're right-handed like me, helps you aim a little bit better too. You have a little more precision in your aiming. It's very hard to aim your camera with your left arm versus you have your whole hand on the camera this way. You know, so for precision and aiming, I feel like a grip helps a lot in that respect. So maybe think about just a grip for the M1 Mark III or EM5 Mark III. Even though the I wouldn't buy an EM1 Mark II if you already have an EM5 Mark III. If you want to get an EM1, get the Mark III. It's definitely better than any of the EM1 Mark II or the EM5 Mark III. Much better, and it's $13.99 right now. So, and Jeff Painter says I use a PD pack when I'm using the M1 Mark III at home. Okay. Does that work though? Because I've noticed that my HDMI port shuts off when I have my PD pack on the camera, and I'm powering it through the power bank. And Mark says, "Who do we vote for?" I don't want to talk about voting, election stuff. It's a big day today here in the USA. For those of you that don't live here. We're all out, you know, today's the last day to vote. There's been a lot of early voting and mail-in type stuff, so there's all of that. We'll find out tonight, if not in the next few days. Oh, good morning, David. How are you? David Crooks is here. He manages the local photography club that I joined recently. And all the photo walks I've been going on have really only been with the photo club. John Yutse says, when using big lenses, I use a body with a deep grip for both balance and better handling. Yes. Yeah, no doubt having a deeper grip helps a lot, but I think it's along the lines of, you know, the handling and tracking and focus, you know, tracking, right? It's just easier when you have a grip versus, you know, if you're trying to hold the camera like this, you know, your hands are like this instead of like this, right? So you're trying to, it's not the same, right? It feels a lot better when you have a substantial grip. Oh, thank you, Macroverse. I just want it to be over. It almost doesn't matter to me who wins at this point, but I just want it to be over. And Simon says, I asked Olympus Tech in the UK and they told me the PD won't work with HDMI out, but using an external power supply to the grip is the only way to... Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense. If you have the external grip, you can power the camera, power delivery through the grip. That makes more sense. Because I think the challenge, well, let me rephrase that. Because when I asked Jimmy Chang about using the HDMI port at the same time as the power delivery set, he said no problem. And I said, I can't get it to work. But I think it's because he does have the grip for it. So that's probably why he's not having any issues and I am. Computer says HDMI to USB. Don't know if this is of any significance, but I have the OMD EM10 Mark II. Rob's YouTube videos helped me set it up for the video chats. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I did make a video on using that little $20 HDMI capture card. I stopped using that since I got this other device here, a little HDMI switcher. But for a few months while I had it, a couple of months, that's all I used was that little $20 capture card. I bought 3 of them actually, and I was running out of USB ports because I wanted to hook up multiple cameras at the same time during the stream. So with this device, I can have one USB port on my computer open, and then I can plug in 4 HDMI devices. And I have a review on this. It's the Live Pro L1. It's not a review, but so much as just using it. And Perm is asking, any views on the Midicon 17.95? Seems to be getting great reviews and priced similarly to the Olympus F1.8. Yeah, I don't have any opinion there. And I think it's a manual focus lens. I'd rather have autofocus. If it is an autofocus lens of 0.95, that's pretty awesome. But I haven't really watched any reviews or anything on it personally because I'm not interested in the lens because I have the 17 f1.8, which is, you know, a fantastic lens. But price similar. Let me look at it real quick. Let me see if I can give you any insight at all other than just saying I don't know. How do you spell it? Midicon. Yeah, Midicon, just like it sounds. 17. Oh, it comes right up. Okay, looking at it, it's definitely a manual focus. Looks well made, all metal design. And on B&H, it's got 1 5-star review so far. Comes in silver. Oh, cool. Well, that looks exactly the same. Anyway, actually, yeah, it is about the same price. Manual focus design. Let me look at some specs real quick. So it goes up to f16, which is normal. 12 elements, normal. 8 rounded blades, so nice smooth bokeh. 461 grams. Holy crap. Wow, that's heavy. I would definitely, and look at the filter size, 58 millimeters. All right. So this to me is it's a specialty lens now. And I'm only going to use it when I specifically need something wide open at a 0.95 because of all those specs. Because, you know, the regular 17, oh wait, I'm on the wrong page. Here's the Olympus one, right? This one is, let's just go to the specs. 120 grams, so it's a quarter of the weight. And it has a 46 millimeter filter ring, so it's you know, it's a small, is it on, yeah, I have it right here, it's on this camera. It's tiny compared to that. So my opinion basically is I would not buy it unless I really needed a 0.95 and I don't mind manually focusing, which are 2 criteria that just rarely come up for me. And it's not significantly cheaper. Like, what was that? The Olympus one is the same price right now. They're both $399. So I will take a super lightweight autofocus prime lens any day over a manual focus heavy butt lens on a Micro Four Thirds. That's for me, you know, just the size and weight of it ruled it out almost exclusively based on that. Because this, it's hard to see. If I can get this up into the light, this is tiny, right? Compared, I mean, I have this mount down here. Let me show you what a 400 gram lens looks like. Let me see. This is the 75 millimeter f1.8. So it has the same 58 millimeter thread on it as the Midicon. And let me take this off. But, you know, it's like, look at the difference in size. So this would be similar to the Midicon in size and weight. And look at the front. Look at the size of the element compared to the 17. So knowing that the 17 is very, very good from Olympus, if the Midicon is even a little better, it's not enough. It'd have to be, like, this lens would have to suck, and the Midicon would have to be excellent for me to go from this to that. But let's just say that the Midicon is a little better. Let's just give them that. I don't know if that's true or not. It's not enough for me to switch from getting this. Maintain the small size, weight, and autofocus on this. So that's a little more qualified opinion. You know, you may be more interested in, you know, absolute sharpness, shallower depth of field. I mean, some very special use case scenarios. Video, it would be very useful in video for very low light situations. You can keep your ISOs low. If you're on a tripod a lot, like landscapes and things. But again, these are all scenarios that don't come up too often for me personally in my photography. The 17 millimeter for me is a street lens. You go out and you shoot street photography with it. Travel lens, right? So having the speed of the autofocus, the small compact lightweightness are all virtues of the 17 millimeter focal length for me. And those are all out the window with the Midicon, in other words. Okay. There we go. So that was a long answer to what should be a simple question, right? Peter says, could you please repeat the name of the HDMI thing? It's an HDMI switch, right? How do you control it? Okay, I have a video on it. It's called the FeelWorld Live Pro L1. So this is my video on it after we get past the ad here. It's episode number 275. But I actually go through it and show you how I use it. I don't just like review the product so much as I show you how I use it in my live streaming and how it works for me. So watch this video. This is actually a decent video that I did. And I made this video entirely using this device. And I talk about that in the video, so check that out. But that's exactly what it is, a FeelWorld Live Pro L1. And all I have are manufacturer direct links to it, but they do sell it on Amazon, which I didn't give any affiliate links for that, because they gave this thing to me for free, right? So I don't know if they allow affiliate links or not, you know, so I just said I'm not going to put any affiliate links. So there's direct links to the manufacturer where you can download like a Windows software and some firmware updates, but they sell it on Amazon as well. It's like $3.99, I believe. And David Crook says, I haven't watched Peter's video yet. I assume that's on the 17 millimeter. And Arm says, thanks for your views. You're welcome. And Piotr says, I understand one can define multiple setup scenes and use them quickly to change arrangement of the items. Rob in the first plane, no browser versus mini Rob in the corner. Yeah. Yeah, you can do all that. It has a little picture-in-picture functionality, I think, if that's what you're referring to. And the OSB, am I correct here with the concept? Yes. Like I said, I demonstrate that in the video, that part of it, so you can check it out. I mean, I use OBS software to handle most of the picture-in-picture type stuff. I have a little more control than I do with the device itself. But the device itself will do that. And Robin asked, did Peter and Jimmy get it before? I don't know. I didn't watch those videos from them about those. You know, if they're reviewing, if you guys are reviewing a lens that I'm interested in, then I'll definitely watch your video. But you know, for a lot of, you know, when you guys do gear reviews, unless it's something I'm shopping for, and it's not just you, it's everybody, right? I don't watch any reviews on stuff I'm not interested in. Yeah, and you know, the thing with like official Olympus, you know, Olympus visionaries or Panasonic ambassadors, when they get gear for early review, you know, there's still some NDA type stuff, right? They can't like predict what the price is going to be. If they know what the price is going to be, they may not be allowed to tell you anyway. So there's some limitations when they do reviews, but it's nothing that should change your buying decision ultimately, because we generally know what the price is going to be of things like this, right? When we see a lens, if you've been in photography for any length of time, when you see a product come out, if they don't tell you the price, you can get pretty close with a guess, right? You can guess what it's going to be. But at least, you know, like when Robin or Peter or Jimmy or, you know, Maddie does a review on the product, they have a wealth of experience with other products from the same company. So they can speak to that product with that kind of experience behind them, right? And they can tell you that, yes, this 100 to 400 is an awesome lens. It's definitely better than the 75 to 300. Not quite as good as the 300 f4 Pro, but close, right? And they can tell you that because you've been using those lenses forever, right? So they can give you that context to help you make that buying decision. Versus, say, you know, another channel where they're not like you know, these drive-by photography reviews that you see online all the time. They don't use that camera brand. They don't care about it. They just want to talk about it because it just came out and the factory sent them this camera or this lens to advertise for them, right? And those drive-by reviews are just useless because the person reviewing it really doesn't have any context relative to other lenses from the same company, usually, right? So, you know, they might say, you know, they just don't have that context or that comparison or that kind of experience with that gear to give you a good review, in my opinion. You know, sure, they might have a lot of experience, right, in photography, and they can give you I think they can still give you a very good advice when making a purchasing decision. But it's not quite the same as hearing it from someone like Robin or Peter, Jimmy, Maddie, that are have you know, basically their whole life is in that product and they know everything inside out and they can tell you the differences between. And to me, it's a huge advantage in that respect to watch their reviews over, say, some other person that doesn't use the brand, right? And you know, I don't like it when I hear people say, oh, they're biased because they're a visionary or an ambassador, right? It doesn't make them biased. It gives them an advantage of getting the equipment sooner, right, than other people, that like ourselves, like me, right? I'm not associated with anybody. But it gives them an advantage and insight into the product that no one else is going to have. never mind their experience, but you tack on their experience with the brand and all of the additional information or knowledge that they might have that they may not be able to share directly, but they can give you some level of confidence about whatever they're talking about, that it's going to be a good product or a bad product, right? So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And let's see. Number 275. Oh, you're welcome, Piotr. Okay. Perfect. I understand the concept of scenes. However, is it possible to save the entire collection? Yes, I can save different scenes in OBS, not in the device itself directly. The device is just a piece of hardware, and there is a software side to it, like the Windows software. I was never able to figure that thing out. So I don't recommend using the Windows software unless you're already very familiar with working with those kinds of devices and the software that are associated with these kinds of devices. But in OBS, yeah, I can save different scenes. Like if I want to switch to my share screen scene like this, right? You know, I have this set up so I can share this particular window. And I can assign a hotkey and all of that stuff. If I just want a full screen of me, you know, here's me with all of my cameras. So I can save all of these scenes, if that's what you're referring to. And why would someone want a 0.95 lens? What would it be good for? Well, just being able to shoot at 0.95 in video is a big deal. Because a lot of times in video, you're kind of fixed, right? With shutter speed and ISO and aperture and all of that. So it gives you that shallow depth of field and pulling focus. I think for video, 0.95 is a lot more relevant. Also, 0.95, if you do astrophotography, is a big deal. You know, the more light you can let into the camera, the better. I mean, those are just things off the top of my head, but yeah, there's a lot of reasons people want a fast lens. You know, keeping their ISOs low, their shutter speeds high, the shallow depth of field, all of that good stuff. Simon says the weight of the lens is irrelevant when you're in space. That's true. And I see, I answered that one. And then Robin Wong says, hi, it's okay, robtrek. I'm an Olympus fanboy. I'm okay with people saying I'm biased. But I'm not okay when people say I hate full frame or against, yeah. We'll talk more on Sunday. Definitely. I know, people, you know, it's whatchamacallit. It's hard not to be biased, right? It's just in human nature to be biased for certain things. I mean, we see it in everything we do, you know, like car clubs, you know, Chevy beats Ford, or, you know, Ferrari versus Porsche, you know, if you think about cars. Sports, right? You know, different sports. I mean, we're just competitive. In human nature is to be competitive. And that the side effect of that is that we have biases towards certain brands or products or whatever. So yeah, it's fine. And I think when people are watching, they assimilate that information that, yeah, this person's a visionary or an ambassador. You know, you got to factor that in. Whoever's watching is going to factor that in their brain when they're watching the video. But that doesn't take away from the information that the person is providing, right? When you trust that person, but I haven't met really a visionary or an ambassador that I've ever thought was intentionally misleading people. right? They always do their best. They're always doing their best and are people of character. Otherwise, they would not be a visionary or an ambassador, because there's certain code of ethics and conduct that visionaries and ambassadors have to follow and they sign contracts for. And if they violate that slightly, you know, they could be jeopardizing that status, which if they care about it, they're not going to do that. So they're always generally people of very high integrity that have those kinds of titles. You know, there's always the bad apples. I mean, I'm not saying that's 100%, but generally speaking, I think you can count on a visionary or an ambassador to be a person of high integrity. Yeah, Mark, well, go ahead and send us a scanned film negative. That'll be fine. And Walter says 0.95 lets in lots more light, so you can AF in lower light. Yeah, it's not an autofocus lens though, Walter, so and sometimes you'll find that lenses, you have to be careful, right? Autofocus, you know, if you're in low light, right, you have to qualify that it lets more light in. If you're in low light, having a faster lens, let's say f.95, will allow more light in for autofocusing. Let's say it's an autofocus. Let's talk about a 1.4 lens, because that's a real lens, right? 50 millimeter f1.4 or 25 millimeter f1.4 from Panasonic is going to let in 2/3 more stop light, right, than an f1.8 or an f2, twice as much light as an f2. So in low light, definitely the autofocusing system is going to work better. However, in bright light, okay, the lens actually stops down. So if it was at f1.4, it might stop down to f2 or f4, f5.6. It may stop down to actually try to autofocus, because now too much light is coming in and saturating the autofocus sensors. And the autofocus is not able to distinguish the subjects because it's just too bright. Bright lenses don't necessarily always focus better than other lenses if you're in bright light, you know, outdoors and stuff. I mean, not that it matters, right? I mean, in practice, who cares if it stops down in bright light? But in low light, it's going to do better. That's all people really care about. But don't think it's going to focus better in bright light than another lens because it's an f1.4, because it's stopping down anyway, is my point. Let's see. And the other problem with 0.95 lenses, potentially, I don't know about this lens, but sometimes they're a little bit soft. Now, let's talk about manual focus with a 0.95 lens, right? Then you're going to do it visually by eye, or you're going to do it using focus peaking. And when you're at 0.95, trying to focus on something, particularly if it's very close, but let's say it's normal distance, 1 meter, 2 meters away, right? The lens might be a little bit soft at 0.95. So focus peaking is going to be less effective, and also visually inspecting the focus point is going to be harder because the lens is not quite as sharp at 0.95. So what some people do is they stop it down to f4, focus, lock focus, then step it back down to 0.95, knowing that they've acquired focus. So that's one way kind of around it, but you're not going to be able to focus it wide open, potentially. But like I said, I don't know this lens. Maybe it's super sharp, wide open, and it's fine. But I know people that they stop the lens down. I've done it. I've had to stop the lens down, acquire focus manually, or stop it up. I don't know. You know what I mean. You know, stopping it back and forth, right? adjusting the aperture back and forth to get peak sharpness. Yeah, the Nikkor Z knocked 58.95 is a manual focus and costs $8,000. And then lens, yes, I fully understand. Just did not immediately think of video shooting in the field where you sure may have less than perfect light conditions. Yeah, it all makes sense, right? I mean, if there was no need for 0.95 lenses, nobody would make them, right? I mean, somebody might make it, but it wouldn't be like as predominant as they are. You know, the f1.2s, the f9.5s, when they come out, they're kind of a big deal because there's people that are looking for, you know, brighter lenses. Wolf Lund, how are you? It says, if it stops down the preview in VF, does it show the depth of field? Yes, if you're looking at it through your EVF, while the lens is stopping down, you're going to see the depth of field. But that's why you have that depth of field preview button. If that's important to you, you can actually push that button and it should lock in the aperture that you're shooting at so you can see the actual depth of field. Oh, that's right, the Voigtlander. The Voigtlanders they got some 0.95s, don't they? Oh man, I only have a few minutes to my next stream. I need to get ready for that. Oh, we have a good group here now, up to 50-some people. That's awesome. I'm so happy. I'm glad everybody's here. But that's my take on lenses, fast lenses, the Minikon 0.95. There's everyone is different. Oh, and Wu-Tang has a lot of experience trying to use fast lenses, right? If you want to add a bright lens, a Cinema T1.2, but most photo lenses that are 0.95 are actually T1.3s. So not really as efficient, but shallower depth of field. Ask yourself if you... Okay, so yeah, there is the issue of 0.95 is a mathematical measurement of the aperture of the lens. The T-stop, or T that Wu-Tang's referring to, is an actual measurement of the light hitting the lens. You know, the light passing through the lens and hitting the sensor. And a lot of times, 0.95 theoretically should allow 0.95 worth of light to the sensor through the lens. But in actuality, the amount of light passing through is equivalent to a T-stop, or 1.2 or 1.3. So even though you are getting the depth of field of a 0.95, because that's purely math and physics, the actual light passing through the lens may not be quite as bright as 0.95, if that makes sense. Another way to think of it is if you put an ND filter in front of a 0.95 lens, and you have the lens wide open at 0.95, you still have that 0.95 depth of field, shallow depth of field, right? A lot of videographers do that. But you're not getting as much light in, obviously, because of the ND filter. You're probably getting like a TF4 or TF16 or whatever, right? So lenses without an ND filter on them, just straight lenses, the 0.95 is a mathematical, physical calculation. The T-stop is an actual measurement of light passing through the lens that hits the sensor. And that can be different. Usually, the most I've ever seen is like a quarter stop. It's never been that much. See who's texting me. Sometimes David texts me during the stream to tell me something's wrong. But, oh, it's Walter. Walter texts me. There's a handful of you out there that have my cell phone number. And I get texts during the stream sometimes. Okay. ND filter, brilliant way to explain f-stop. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have my moments. For me, brightness is more important. Shooting in dark places, yes. Yes. I do wonder, because I have that whole video on explaining exposure, right? Parts 1, 2, and 3. But I never talk about 0.95 or 1.2s. Because when you get below f1, I get a little bit confused. I think I'll have to do the math one day. Just sit down. It's a brain twister, right? But it's possible 0.95 is exactly one stop lower than f1.4. Maybe. I don't know. There's probably there's a formula for f stops and all of that, which I'm drawing a blank now. If you'd asked me while I was making the video, I could have answered that. But after I make the video, I have to go back to relying on my brain rather than my notes, and I can't remember things. The best, brightest lens that is under $600 is the SLR Magic Micro Pro Prime. I know you've been talking about that a couple of times. Let me just pull that up before I go. 50. So this guy here. So it's got the little teeth on it for that rack focusing thing. $500. This is the E mount. They got an MFT mount. Oh, micro 4/3. Same price. Let's look at the specs real quick. Where's the spec button? Oh, right here. So it's an f1.4, 6 elements. Wow, that's interesting. When you have lower elements, you get a little more character in the lens because it's not trying to correct so many things. The reason a lot of lenses have like 12, 15, 20 elements in them is they're trying to make corrections to the light before it hits the sensor. When you see a low element lens like this, it's not doing quite as many corrections, so it's going to have more defects in the image, which in turn translates to a quote-unquote character of the lens. So 85 millimeter diameter, oh my god, 630 grams. Holy crap. So this is a very good example of a very specific use case, right? So I'm sure Wudang is using this specifically for, certain things. This is not the kind of lens you just go out and on a photo walk, generally speaking, right? Oh, thank you, Walter. Walter figured it out. f.95 is one stop from 1.2. And 1.2 is a half a stop from 1.4, right? But that's a weird number though, 0.95. You'd think they'd have like an f1 lens. So it's a clean one stop difference from... But I guess when you start getting below f1.4, you have to start working in half stops. Oh, Walter says 1.2 to 1.4 is a third of a stop. Okay, that makes sense. Like I said, below f1.4, the math you cannot have rounding errors when you're below 1.4, right? Because now you're in the decimals. When you get over 1.4, f2, f5, all of that, you can round a little bit. And you're actually rounding numbers because f5.6, f8, they're not necessarily even numbers. You do a little bit of rounding, especially like f11, right? I think it's 11.5 something, I forget. But there's a mathematical formula they use to calculate f-stops. And in photography, we round those numbers off to the nearest tenth of a decimal or whatever. But when you get below 1.4, you can't round anymore because now we're talking significant differences in light. 1.1, 1.2. Okay, that makes sense. And then Phil is asking, what do I think about speed boosters? I use one for my Canon EF 1.850. I think speed boosters are again more for, this is my challenge with speed boosters. I have one somewhere. I can't find it now. Speed boosters are really a neat way to take vintage lenses like your 50 f1.8 or my 200 f4. You know, I got a Nikon 200 millimeter f4. If I put that speed booster on it, you know, it becomes a 180 millimeter f2.8. I mean, it's like, it's really an interesting way to take vintage lenses and squeeze a little bit more out of them, right? And I think they're kind of fun to have, and I don't know, I think there's some videographers that really love using those speed boosters on Micro Four Thirds because they want that extra light and they like the character of the lens that it gives these vintage lenses. Like I was saying, vintage lenses tend to have fewer elements. Like my Nikon 200 f4 only has 4 elements, maybe 5, but very few, right? So the speed boosters, I find a lot of cinematographers use them for the character of using vintage lenses, but also getting that extra light in, right? And also, in terms of still photography, it's a great way to get very fast lenses cheaply, right? You can buy this adapter and you can adapt all kinds of, you know, older lenses and get, you know, the same focal length and the same aperture, if not faster, as the much more expensive counterpart, like an Olympus original lens. So let's take for example the 75 millimeter f1.8. That lens is about $700 all day long. I don't know what the list price is, but you can buy it for about $699 all day long. A 75 millimeter f1.8 from Olympus. You can buy a 100 millimeter Nikon lens f2.8, right, for about $100. And you can get a speed booster for about another $100, $150. Let's say $150. So for $250, you can get essentially the same focal length and speed for less than half the price, right? You just have to manually focus, which is, you know, not a big deal for a lot of people. And so in that respect, for still photography, I think if you're going that route, it makes a lot of sense to me. But if money is not really an issue, right, where you're comfortable spending $700 and you use the lens a lot, you use that focal length a lot, to me it's better to buy the 75 millimeter f1.8 than to spend $200 or $300 on a vintage lens with that focal reducer. So in terms of practical use, speed boosters I don't think have any in still photography have a lot of practical use when you can buy an equivalent native lens with autofocus. You spend more money, but you can get an equivalent lens in focal length and speed natively as you can with a speed booster and a vintage lens without autofocus, and technically not as sharp. Now, if you like that character of these older lenses and things, it can be a lot of fun, and that's kind of why I got it. I wanted to kind of use some of my vintage glass, but try to get that shallower depth of field and get that character that lens has into my Micro Four Thirds or whatever mirrorless camera. I used to do it a lot on my Sony, but I feel like it's more of a hobbyist, like have fun and enjoy photography type product. A different way to enjoy your craft, or another way to enjoy your craft as a photographer. So, but I don't think in real photography it really has a lot of practical advantages over what's already available natively on Micro Four Thirds, because Micro Four Thirds has a humongous selection of lenses. So there's not a practical point to get one, but I don't want to take away from how rewarding it is to be able to use a vintage lens, manually focus, get the character. You can't take away from the videography benefits of extra light at certain focal lengths, and again with the character, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I feel about focal reducers. I don't recommend them if you're really trying to use them to replace a native mount lens. I don't think it's a replacement, like buying a 100mm lens, f2.8, putting a focal reducer on it to replace a 75mm f1.8. That's not a practical application. It's more of a, just enjoy, if you enjoy photography and things. All right. I have the Viltrox Nikon MF Speed Boost, but it's not that sharp. The extra stop of light is handy though, yes. Yeah, I haven't tried the autofocus speed boosters. I got one on my shopping list, but I don't know. If money wasn't an issue, right? I know, right, David? I'm all about spending. The wife, though, not so much. Yeah. Yep, just my opinion. My Photo Trinity videos by robtrek, Robin there. Awesome. Thank you. I'm very flattered to be part of that group. Those are top-notch creators, right? Okay, I have to go to my next stream. I have to go to my next stream for photo editing. So thanks everyone for joining me today and spending a little time with me this morning. I'm always very grateful for your presence, and special thanks to Robin for joining in today. I appreciate that too. I know all of my viewers are very happy to see you here. So you guys have a good rest of your day or evening, and I'm gonna go over to my photo editing live stream. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll be back on Thursday.